ago, nobody anticipated that these once bustling streets would be completely empty. But on January 20th, 2020, the first case of COVID-19 was reported in the United States. By mid-March, with nationwide cases climbing into the 10,000s, states began issuing stay-at-home orders, and by the end of May, 42 of the 50 states had enacted hard lockdown mandates. Citizens were urged to shelter themselves at home, and all non-essential business proceedings were suspended. This has affected the lives and livelihood of countless people, forcing them to shut their doors, in some cases, permanently.
Another local business lost to the coronavirus, an Anaheim restaurant that's been serving the Muslim community for years. When they were forced to close during Ramadan, their busiest time of the year, they knew it was going to be tough. Our Tony Cabrera talked to the owner about the even tougher decision to close for good.
Alan Abdo is the former owner of the popular Olive Tree restaurant in Anaheim, California. After owning the restaurant for 15 years and managing it for 5, the pandemic forced him to close his doors for good.
When we got hit with COVID, it changed everything. I don't think we were scared because we thought maybe it would be a week and it would be over. As time went on, that's when the fear started coming in about, your finances, running the business. Towards the end of March, I couldn't make rent. I was short money to pay the employees. I had to dig into my savings to keep the business afloat.
After owning the restaurant for 15 years and managing it for 5, the pandemic forced him to close his doors for good.
The language that we were hearing in the news about in October and November, there's going to be a spike. Here we are, October, November, there's a spike and they're just shutting everything down again. I knew where we were headed, and where we are today, I wouldn't have survived.
With the number of cases rising every day and no end in sight, Alan decided that ultimately, his restaurant was a necessary sacrifice. Despite the loss of Olive Tree, Alan's entrepreneurial spirit endures, and he has found a new way to keep his family afloat in the midst of the pandemic.
I want to keep my employees employed. I want to be employed. I have, my personal finances, my, family to take care of. They have their families to take care of. My wife was pregnant at the time. I also have a baby from before, and I have a daughter that's 14 years old in high school. And I was scared, and I just needed something to generate some income just to pay my bills and not dig into my savings. So because of that, I bought a boat and I rent my boat out. I do boat charters in Newport Harbor, Catalina trips, Emerald Bay, and it was basically a side hustle to survive, just to pay my bills. And I feel blessed and lucky because I was able to do that.
Having been a pillar of his community for so long, Alan's longtime customers still ask him to bring Olive Tree back. And even with his success elsewhere, he hasn't closed himself off to the idea.
Olive Tree Restaurant was voted in the top 5 restaurants in all of Orange County. It was voted Best Mediterranean Restaurant 4 times. National food magazines did articles on us. We're in the LA Times, the Orange County Register, the OC Weekly. We set the standard for what Mediterranean food was in Orange County. So do I want to open up? Absolutely. Am I going to open up? I don't know. Hopefully one day we will open. At the end of the day, as much as we love cooking and we love serving our food and teaching people about our culture through our food, at the end of the day, we're a for-profit business. And if I'm not profiting, I'm in the wrong business. I have a family to feed. As far as the financial decision, given the cards that we were dealt, I made the smartest decision at that moment to get out. Did I want to do it? Absolutely not. But given the situation, it was the right decision. The customers that we have, the people that I still get messages today of people finding out and saying, calling me crying, sending me messages like, I'm so sorry, I hope one day you open again. When you do, we're going to be back. That part emotionally, takes a lot out of you. And so in your mind, you train yourself to say, we're going to be back one day.
Although their struggles in the pandemic have been nearly universal, not all small businesses have shared Olive Tree's fate. Zach Reese, the owner and founder of Dank Cuts Inc. and a veteran hairstylist of 10 years, has been preserving and continuing his push to innovate in his field.
My business is a men's haircutting concept, but we use software and hardware to both record and consistently repeat the haircut that you get from us, no matter which location you go to or which one of our technicians you see anywhere in the world.
His feelings, however, were largely consistent with Alan's.
When we were first told to shut down for the coronavirus, what was going through my head was, I'm sure, very similar to what was going through most business owners' head. It was uncertainty and a little bit of fear, and really those two words I think couldn't describe it any better. Uncertainty and fear of something that you've worked so hard to build going away. I had a hard time the first time shutting down, which I think a lot of people did as well. But my understanding of the first closure was, hey, we don't know what's going on here. We don't know what's going to happen, and we cannot have the hospital infrastructure overwhelmed. We need to have space for patients.
Luckily, Zach had the foresight to prepare for the circumstances the pandemic brought upon him.
We saw a possible closure on the horizon, so we did a big gift card drive with all of our clients and had them buy a gift card for future haircuts, and that was a nice little chunk of change that helped kind of keep us afloat through the first closure. I'm not so sure how well we would have done if we weren't fortunate enough to have put that together.
With the landscape ever changing, Zach, like all business owners, was forced to enact new procedures to maintain as safe and healthy an environment as possible. Unfortunately, but not expectedly, this came with some changes to the workplace.
The new normal at Dank Cuts for coronavirus has been, standard temperature check at the door. You have to have your mask on. And the one that I'm not so sure that everybody in the men's hair world is doing, but that we're doing is we're not doing rinses, which has actually been a big one for some of the clients. They really appreciate getting those extra hairs off their head. Fortunately, though, a lot of people aren't going back to work anymore. They're going back home. So before coronavirus, we were at 14 employees. Now we currently sit at about 7. Before I get into the meat and potatoes, I'll say this sucks. The situation sucks. Sucks for all of us. If there's one thing that we collectively all share, is that this sucks. And there aren't any good options. There are none. These people rely on me to feed themselves, to pay their rent, to keep their lights on. And not only just now, after all this is over too. So we've got quite the climb ahead of us. We can't close. I can't close. I can't do it. When I made the video that I sent out to, I think it was 11,000 of our clients, stating why we were going to remain open the second time, I personally was surprised by how overwhelmingly supportive everybody was to the message. My thought process going into making that video was, I felt that as a leader of this company, I owed it to the employees and the clients to state my reason, both why we were remaining open and what we were doing to make sure that everybody stayed safe in this environment. What I learned through all of this and the advice that I would give to other business owners, and maybe even especially in the barbershop and salon world, is we have certain obligations as leaders of the community, as a business within the community, and it's important to take a look at the situation. Every situation is different, and I think that's, again, the big reason that a lot of people did, almost everybody shut down the first time, because we needed to assess things, what's going on. And then I think it's important to be dynamic in your decision making, to be able to say, the cost-benefit analysis, take a look at, okay, what do I need to do and why do I need to do it, and what's best for my team, what's best for my customers. So really not being lazy and taking a look at the situation as a whole, and then also not being lazy and putting things in place, like making sure you're really taking the time to make sure that you do have the infrared thermometer, something that's easy to do, that you are being on top of clients and employees wearing masks, the things that you can do to keep things safe, so that you can also keep people working and making a living and keep your business open. So I would say be dynamic, look at the situation as a whole, and really try to be not lazy and proactive and take it as it comes.
As far as business owners maintaining their success during the pandemic go, few have done as well as Gladys Olmedo, owner of Hair Sculptor Salon in Costa Mesa. Gladys had very sound advice for business owners in their struggle for survival in the pandemic.
You need to have your finances set up in a way that you have the expenses of at least 6 months of your home mortgage, your salon mortgage, all of your expenses. You need to have that saved. That way, when you are faced with a pandemic, you don't have to panic. You just say, I got this, you know? So you just have to do that. I would take it even a little further, go 10 months savings. You look at your money as a tool. Money is just a tool to get you by. Anything else, if you can afford it, you can buy something, but you always have to have that savings. You need to be prepared, financially prepared.
As the world prepares for the winter ahead, with the possibility of another lockdown looming overhead, it is important to think of the people whose lives have been uprooted by this tragedy. They may be friends, family, or members of your community, but for some of them, things may never be the same again. As the landscape changes, things will get better. And when they do, please support your local businesses. Help them foster growth and connection in their community, because their work truly is essential.